how to stop falling off at the weekends and actually sustain our results. Ladies, welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. This week I am talking on, I'm going to say, the hot topic of the moment. This seems to be the most frequently asked subject from the women that I speak to is, Nick, how do we manage the weekends? How do you navigate the weekends? How do we create balance of a weekend? How do we stop from going backwards, failing on our progress? How do we get off this cycle that is all built around weekend indulgence? Ladies, this week I'm going to talk all about it. First of all, why we feel that we're falling back over weekends, and then most importantly, how to get out the other side. I'm speaking from experience here, and also the tools, the strategies, the playbook that my clients also plug in. And a lot of it comes down to just making better decisions and having a plan for ourselves that creates freedom. A plan doesn't always need to mean diet mode or restriction. Actually, far from it. It's all about making these better decisions, but actually having a plan and some structure in place, especially around your weekends, creates freedom. Like, we don't realise how freeing it is to actually have a sense of control when it comes to our goals and keeping our eye on our progress and the things that matter most to us, essentially. So first of all, I want to talk about why you might be finding that you are falling off every weekend. If you are like many of my clients and you are a high performer, a lot of the women that I work with in leadership roles or very demanding job role, whatever that might be, you've also got kids, you've got a house to run, you're trying to get your own gym workouts in and your meals prepped and everything else, spinning many plates. It can start to feel like a pressure cooker. So Monday to Friday, you've nailed it. It's taken some work, but Monday to Friday, you finally cracked it. So you can sustain the pressure of a midweek, just about, as it stands. But the weekend comes and the lid just, or the valve, whatever it is. I always remember when we were younger, my mum having a big pressure cooker to do scouting. Is that still a thing? Anyway, you know what it's like when the top of the pressure cooker just starts whistling. You have to let the pressure out. This is what is happening over a weekend, and we're blowing a gasket, and there's no sense or logic. Like, we're exhausted, we're overstretched, we've said yes to all of these things, and now we've got to show up and go to them, and we don't really want to have to be good and order the salad and abstain from the alcohol, and we're just in a bit of a cycle where the actions and the behaviours are not aligning with what we want the goal outcome to be. And I believe a lot of it is down to this internal pressure of the Monday to Friday versus that explosive, just, give me the reward, give me the dopamine, like, give me that sense of, accomplishment. I've managed to battle through the week. I've been accountable on all fronts. I've checked in with my fitness pal, I've done my steps, I've done all of the things, I've checked the boxes, but this weekend I just don't want to have to be accountable. I just want to relax, I just want to de-stress, I want a little bit of what I want. That's what we tell ourselves. That's okay, by the way, ladies. We can also plug that in a way that is still going to drive the desired outcome. So the problem isn't the lack of willpower, it's just clearly the lack of structure and our current stress response, stress, relief, the way in which we seek dopamine. Because this is the common pattern that I see is stress, and then we hit the weekend and we hit major fatigue, and then that can bring on a whole host of emotions, and we're craving the glass of wine, the takeaway, the sugar. And here's the thing with that kind of stuff. First of all, when it's planned in, feels great. And you actually exercise way more control and moderation when it's part of the plan, versus if you get the takeaway and that was never part of the plan, watch how you overorder and overeat. Because it's this weird, I don't know why we do it. It's like this weird hardwiring. If we're doing something that's not part of the plan, then we might as well go balls out. We might as well go fully in. Yeah, I'm going to finish the hubby's meal while I'm there. I'll order myself 2 starters. Let's have the bottle of wine. go on, let's get some chocolates for after it. Let's just do the whole shebang and I'll get back to business tomorrow. Versus a takeaway was always part of the plan. I see this. This is like human behaviour, honestly. And maybe it's just female, I don't know. I don't work with men. But all of a sudden, takeaway is part of the plan. And watch how consciously aware you are of making those good decisions. Like, we don't just want any takeaway. We want a Greek. We want a Turkish where we can get the meat, we can get the rice, we can get some salad. Maybe we're going to get a little bit of pita bread and a bit of dip. We're not doing the chocolates afterwards. We're going to leave the alcohol because we're doing the takeaway, and realistically both is not going to work for our goals. And the following day, we've got a plan to just get right back in business. And that is the difference. Nothing changes around the takeaway apart from the fact that it was always a part of the plan. So I want you to think about this. I've had a client check in this week and she said, like the winter days have like kicked in and I'm just feeling the effects, and I'm getting to the weekend and the chocolates are starting to come out and the glass of wine is starting to kick back in, and she'd abstained from alcohol for quite a few weeks over the summer, which I highly recommend, ladies. If you've not done it, you've got to do it to feel the benefit though. So there's that side of the whole reducing alcohol. You've actually got to do it. Like, there's no fast track. You've got to go that good 2, 3, 4 weeks to get out the other side and realise how impactful it is. So for this client, she's now introduced it over the last couple of weeks and she's feeling it. And it's not to say we can't reintroduce alcohol. I was away on holiday last week and I had a couple of glasses of alcohol while I was there, a couple of glasses of red wine, 3 to be specific. This is one thing you'll learn about me. I always know how many drinks I have had. So anyway, I've gone through quite a spell of feeling like I cannot tolerate alcohol at all, which I'm okay with. Like, it is what it is. We know our own bodies best. I just felt like I would see if I could tolerate a glass of red wine on holiday. So we went to this really nice restaurant and I felt like having a glass. I don't believe in restriction. I will do what I want to do, what matters most. Anyway, it was fine. Felt all right the next day. I was thinking, honestly, when you've abstained from it for long enough, even one glass can have you awake in the night. It can have your heart rate up. It can have you feeling groggy the next day. I don't know whether it was just holiday mode. Anyway, for this client, it's not agreeing with her at this moment in time. So she said, I really want to get past that. And I said, okay, well, instead of completely abstaining from it the next couple of weekends, or even this weekend coming, let's just make it a part of the plan. So it's not a glass of wine and then we feel guilty. So do you know what? We might as well have 2 or 3, and just like, whilst we're feeling guilty, we might as well like sort of, get as much in as we can, is what we do, isn't it? I said, okay, let's put into my fitness plan. You've got 4 celebration chocolates, there's 200 calories, and you've got your glass of wine. So let's say that's 180 calories, okay, based on the size. So there's roughly 400 calories, okay. You're going to get out your 4 chocolates. You can even get your wine glass if you want. Put it on the side. That's you. You can eat them whenever you want. You can have them straight after dinner. You can have them right before, but you can do what you want. That's your 4 chocolates and your glass of wine for the day. Now, notice the difference between that being part of the plan and you just sitting there through the whole of Strictly, or the whole of whatever it is that you're watching, thinking, watching your husband eating the chocolates, thinking, I'm not going to have one. Oh, go on, I'll just have one. Instantly feel guilty. Oh, I said I wasn't going to have one of them. Okay. Oh, go on, I'll just have 2. I might as well just have the 3, get it done. I want one of each. Okay, perfect. And you feel guilty afterwards. Versus you could have had 4 chocolates as part of your plan. And the glass of wine, same scenario. Rather than feel guilty afterwards, we have to build it in. The other mindset shift on this is notice how many times you actually then want to have them. Sometimes you will, you'll get to it and you'll think, I will just have one of them. I don't actually want the 4. 1 was fine. Put it into practice. It's a mindset. It's a whole mindset. But it comes back to us having a plan for ourselves. So it's a reframe of a weekend. And I want you to think about this. going into this weekend. And I'll talk more on this as the weeks go on in the lead up to the festive season, because this is where so many women fall off. In the last couple of years, I have taken on so many clients in the month of November, like end October, early November, who've just reached out and said, Nick, I don't want to wait until January. I already feel as though I'm starting to free fall a little. I don't want that to happen in December times 10, because being there before, and I just want to feel good. And honestly, it becomes so much more than losing weight for these women. Some of the women from the back end of last year I still work with now, so we're going through our second cycle, and it becomes so much more than just losing weight. Like, you lose the weight initially because I'm going to give you the tools, and like, I can see where it's easy to just play and plug. I can see where it's easy to make changes without it just feeling like, oh, calories have got to drop off a cliff. So we lose the weight, or we lose a good chunk of it in the month of November. But then you go into December with such a different mindset, because you see how doable it is, and you see how your decisions create this bigger impact, and you see how, oh, I do have the flexibility to have the social life and to go on the nights out, but I don't have to do it in the way that I always have. And maybe I did need that accountability or that support, or that just different way of thinking about it. So it's a reframe. It's not falling off track of a weekend. It is just approaching with some sort of routine, strategy, essentially in a way that supports our goals. Okay, so first of all, the structure gap. The weekend routine versus the week routine, versus the weekend chaos. Let's clear up here that this structure does not mean restriction. Structure does not mean restriction. It actually gives you freedom, ladies. I cannot hammer this home enough. If you've previously worked with a coach, followed a plan, you've tried to implement some sort of structure and it has felt really restrictive, that's just been the wrong approach for you. I'm going to just put that out there. Like, that's just an approach, because structure for everybody actually empowers us, puts us in a more empowering, free position, in my opinion. But we do need to have a couple of anchors of the weekend, same way that we do midweek. You know, we have our non-negotiables. Again, we're great at nailing them Monday to Friday. The weekend comes and maybe the water goal slips, or we don't start with the protein because we end up having breakfast out, or we're rushing and we're grabbing and go. But we need to have these anchors of a weekend that allow us to enter into weekend mode. Like, we're moving at a different pace. We're allowing ourselves to relax. Again, a lot of the women that I work with, this is a sticking point for you. You really struggle to relax over a weekend. You struggle to switch off from work and stress. But now, because you haven't got that routine of work, you allow yourself to stress all day. And that results in eating in a certain kind of way, drinking in a certain kind of way, which creates more stress, because that's the last thing you actually want to do. You don't want to be feeling bloated and sluggish and hungover and overindulged of a weekend. But that was like, it was almost like a behaviour that you felt you had no control over because you were stressed. And so Sunday kicks in and it's this feeling of dread and everything having to be tightened right up for the next 24 hours to even feel some sense of normality come Monday. But this all comes back to, okay, but if we'd have just paid attention here to having that switch off point, being able to park up. Not in every case scenario is this going to be is this going to be able to be put into practice perfectly. But giving ourselves permission to switch off, to de-stress. Like, a lot of the time I will say to my clients, what do you need most this weekend? Do you need rest? Or do you need whatever else it is that you feel that you're craving? Okay, but we've got to ask ourselves that question, because a lot of the time we're in this pressure cooker, as I've spoken about, midweek, but we dare to acknowledge that we need rest. And rest doesn't always look like, sitting on the couch with your feet up, or getting an afternoon nap, or spending all day in bed. Like, no one really wants to do that. But rest can look like a rest from work, a rest from your mobile phone, a rest from screens, a rest from overthinking. So anchor one, movement. We have to have these anchors, and one of them has to be movement. This time of year, I know it's tough. I know the weather's changed. I know it's getting cold, it's getting wet. It's very unpredictable. But ladies, it is your low-hanging fruit. If you want a healthy, thriving autumn, winter, mind, body, emotional state, body's designed to move. I will repeat this in every episode, I'm sure, because we are designed to move. We're designed to thrive. We're designed to be feeling good and full of energy and vitality, and something somewhere along the line has just thrown us off. It's our responsibility to get ourselves back on course. So you might be listening to this thinking it's so hard of a weekend. My kids have clubs. I've got to sit around and wait for football to finish, and then we're going to gymnastics, and then we've got swimming, and I get all of that. Maybe take a step back and look at the weekend and just figure out where you can plug in some time for yourself. I've started doing training either first thing on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. or I'm going to do 8 a.m. on a Sunday, because annoyingly my gym doesn't open any earlier than 8, or I would actually much rather just go early. Reason being, for me, structure and routine starts with exercise. This is not something that I'm advocating for everybody. I have found that this works for me mentally. It sets me up. And I was going through, I think it was a lot earlier in this year, a real phase of like the weekends were just setting me back. I just didn't feel good. I wasn't feeling good of a weekend. I was feeling as though I had, exactly as I've just spoken about, almost stretched my bandwidth Monday to Friday. Weekends were coming. I was moving at a completely different pace. There was no exercise involved. I was getting my general movement because I've got 2 little girls, so it's most of the time it's not even a choice. It's just, moving around after them. But there was no real routine, and I was struggling with it mentally, to be honest, because I just wasn't feeling. I always talk about, the difference between how it shows up, but for me, mentally is a big part of it. I just wasn't feeling at my best. And the worst thing is, my husband has a PT on a Saturday morning, so he would come home from his PT and he would be buzzing, ready to attack the weekend, ready to go. And I would just be in this lull, like this weird lull. I can't even put my finger on it. It was like I hadn't had my usual hit of endorphins, serotonin, whatever it might be. And you'll see me from time to time, I'll post that I'll be outdoors grounding, maybe just standing outside, bare feet on the ground. And part of this is me acknowledging that I maybe find it harder to switch off. So again, a lot of you giving ourselves permission to switch off. This is something that I have also really had to work on. And I've plugged in a little bit of exercise over weekends, because for me, movement really, it just helps to bring the whole ecosystem that I speak about together. The sleep, the good nutrition, the better decisions, the feeling mentally clear, emotionally strong, just more vibrant, I suppose. Movement will look different for everybody. It can look like a 10-minute power walk. It can look like a workout. Whatever it needs to be, plug it in to your weekends if you want to sustain some level of progress. Number 2, nutrition. We have to get comfortable with balanced meals that we enjoy over weekend. Now, if previously weekends have been your sticking point because every weekend you get a takeaway or you eat out multiple times, and that might be you do a coffee shop, then you do a meal, and then maybe you do a Sunday roast. So it doesn't feel like you've eaten out. It's not like it's not 3 nights out, but it's 3 different points at which we probably are going to be consuming way more calories than what is normal. We've got to acknowledge that and understand that, okay, if my goal is to progress, then maybe I need to look to cut this down to 2. And then the rest of my nutrition, I need to have a plan for it. Because if I want to go out for that meal on Saturday night and I want to have that coffee and that cake on Sunday morning, the rest of my nutrition has to be dialed in, or that just doesn't make sense. It's like looking at a bank balance and every weekend just massively overspending and hoping that you're going to stay in the green. Like, it's not going to happen. Calories, energy management is exactly the same. And again, one of the things that I will say to my clients is just be really choosy about where you eat out, is what I would say. Don't be scared to speak up to the group or to your family and choose a restaurant that works for you, where you can order some nice options. We all like to have a little nice off cooking, us mums. I definitely do. But we will go somewhere where I can get some meat and vegetables and some rice and enjoy a nice meal without feeling like I'm between a rock and a hard place. So, and the same goes with when I go for dinner with the girls. So one of my friends put into the group chat the other week about, right, where do we fancy going for dinner, guys? Like, we know that we're going, we just haven't booked anything. What do you fancy? What does everybody fancy? And then like the question was directly pointed, Nick, what do you fancy? And I was like, you know me, like wherever we can get a healthy option, that's me. I make no qualms about speaking up. I'm the friend who, we have to go somewhere where there's healthy options, ladies, please, because otherwise I just won't enjoy it as much and I won't look forward to it as much. And actually it does benefit everyone, because we all like to feel good. We like to justify sometimes going certain places because our kids might like sweet foods or the burgers or whatever it might be. Our kids will be happy wherever we take them, make no mistake. It all comes back to having a plan that works for us all. Number 3, self-awareness. Have that check-in with yourself regularly. It doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, like my breakfast's gone off plan. I planned to get the workout and have the high protein breakfast, and now I've ended up in the coffee shop with a croissant. Like, that's it, the day is ruined. It's not. It's like the next decision just has to be a better decision, and then the next decision after that probably has to be a better decision, and you are right back on course. You've heard me say this before. The women who transform and who sustain a transformation and a way of living, they don't escape the meals off plan. They don't escape the negative self-talk. They don't escape some of the self-sabotaging habits. They're just so quick to get back in business. We don't dwell on it. We don't hang around in that beating ourselves up and feeling guilty. Like, it serves no purpose at all. In fact, it just brings our own mood down. Last thing we really want to be doing of a weekend is dampening our own mood with a pity party that we had a couple of extra calories. Honestly, it can be managed. Get out and move, drink some water, and make the next decision a really good one. But most importantly, if you plan for the joy, for the little bit of whatever, for the indulgence, you will enjoy it so much more. Part of this podcast is around removing guilt of your weekend as well, because the guilt, that's a negative emotion. So that then triggers more of a negative outcome, whether it is a way of thinking, a stress response to behaviours. So again, you know, one glass of wine and the takeaway then leads to, oh, well, we might as well have dessert, and I might as well stay up extra late and go on, I'll have a couple of biscuits or crisps or whatever. It doesn't need to feel like that. That's our own self-sabotage. That's us not allowing for some joy and flexibility. And ladies, we have to get comfortable and clear that even our favourite top in shape fitness influencers, they are having indulgence at the weekend. They're just not creating a mountain out of it. They're having it, they're enjoying it, they're stopping eating when they're full, they're moving on. The next decision is a good one. They're not stopping moving, they're checking in with themselves. How am I feeling? Am I starting to feel, you know, have I hit my water today? Am I feeling good? What do I need here? Do I need rest? Have I given myself that rest this weekend? Have I given myself time to be present? It sounds like it's a lot of thought that has to go into managing ourselves. But yeah, I think on some level, it is exactly that. And this is what I see women struggle with, is that we're not giving ourselves any thought at all. So then when someone suggests a little bit of self-awareness of a weekend, it feels like the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, how can we possibly factor in this much time and care and attention for ourselves? It gets easier, ladies, I promise. It will become innate, it will become routine, it will become part of your makeup. Your family will expect it of you. You will get into your own rhythm and routine, but it starts with awareness. We've got to stay aware of, you know, where are certain trends, habits, behaviours consistently tripping us up? And what do I need more at this moment? Do I need more food, or do I actually just need rest or a bit of a switch off? Emotional awareness and energy management. So weekend often exposes us to our unmet needs, essentially, which for a lot of us is rest. We need the rest during the week. For whatever reason, we don't get it. So we need it at the weekend, but we don't allow ourselves it at the weekend because it feels unproductive, it feels lazy. It just doesn't fit the narrative, of how we want to show up of a weekend. And so we end up on this carousel of a weekend. We, instead of allowing ourselves that rest, that's where we're relying on the glass of wine to de-stress, relying on maybe even just, saying yes to more occasions than we actually feel comfortable with, but we're allowing our bandwidth to be stretched. And instead of leaning into what we need most, the early night, it feels so wasted to go to bed a decent hour on a Saturday because that's my Saturday night. And it's wild, isn't it, that it feels wasteful to prioritise sleep, even though we realise how important sleep is for everything, for emotional needs, mental health, physical results, for fat loss. Prioritising it for weekend feels wasteful. We would rather scrape by during the week, try to savage a little, getting into bed 20 minutes earlier where we can, and just burn the candle a little bit at both ends of a weekend, because guess what? We're still getting up at the same time. Our kids are still getting us up at the same time, but we are not going to go to bed any earlier. We're not going to prioritise sleep, even though we spend all week realising that that's what we need most. And again, ladies, I'm not preaching here. I fall into this camp. I have this conversation all of the time with Katie, who I train with at the gym. And I'll often say to her, when I get into the gym, we sat up last night watching bloody box set, and I should have been in bed, and I got in bed nice and early, but then we just didn't switch the telly off. So it's a forever learning curve, but the awareness is the first part. Focus on, so what I would focus on, what I would recommend, focus on the energy management versus willpower. So your energy management is consistently checking in with yourself on where you are and how you feel. And again, making sure that we've got those checkpoints with our nutrition. Are we still continuing to prioritise protein? Because it's a weekend and I know that feels boring to do, but prioritising protein is not a weekday thing. It's not a fad, it's not a trend, it's a need. It's a need for the desired outcome. If you want to look and feel and perform and recover and be able to show up in a certain way, especially going into the month of December, these lifestyle factors that we talk about, they have to be part of the 7 days of the week. Now, again, we can still plug in some indulgence, but this energy management, am I getting in all my micronutrients? Am I eating fruit of a weekend? Am I prioritising vegetables? Yes, we're probably going to see some more beige foods in the equation, pizza and chips and whatever else it might be, but that's got to be, it's got to be this small part of the bigger picture. So replacing that, I will start again Monday with, the next meal is going to be a really good meal. High protein, plenty of fruit, plenty of veg. It's not boring. It's part of the lifestyle for the desired outcome that I want. I'm currently stuck. I don't feel that confident in my clothes. I feel as though I'm starting to gain weight, hold weight around my middle. My arms and legs are starting to just move in a certain way that I'm just not happy with, and I want to be able to get in that dress in December and feel bloody confident and walk in the room with my head held high. Okay, I need to normalise eating well here as a 7-day cycle. And that doesn't mean, and I'm not going to coach on this today, I'm not going to touch on this too much in the podcast. I talk on this more so inside of my community with the ladies that I work with. Eating well doesn't mean being on a diet. It's such an old school mentality. And again, so many women struggle with this, is we've come from a background of counting points, counting sins, good foods, bad foods, ultra low calorie diets. So Eating good, in inverted commas, if you're not watching on YouTube, feels restrictive. Eating well as part of a healthy lifestyle is eating well and just enjoying good food in moderation based on whole foods. And it doesn't have a Monday to Friday versus the weekend label. Like, we enjoy the meals that we eat. We are women who love to thrive. We enjoy eating good food. Like, that little exception to the norm, we enjoy it. We plan it, we enjoy it, we move on. We get back to eating in a way that makes us feel great. And we've nailed what works for us. And we're not starving. We're not living on a lettuce leaf. We're not avoiding bread or carbs or any of that. We're following a structure that works for us. Okay. Takeaways for this week. I want you to go into this weekend, ladies, and plan at least one non-negotiable. Just do one, just start with one, maybe two. Because I was torn then between, I would highly recommend movement. I would highly recommend protein. Either one is a powerful place to start. Throw in your water intake and you will fly through your weekends. It starts with awareness, but give yourself the awareness. Give yourself the accountability. Head to Thriving Women if you're not already part of the community. If you go into Thriving Women, go onto the free resources. The links are all below in the show notes. Go into the free resources and you will see my 10 suggested non-negotiables. If you don't know where to start, look at them and just pull out 1, 2, 3 non-negotiables. Hold yourself accountable, not because I must drop weight this weekend, not because I want to rein it in, because I want to feel great. So reframe that mentality. I want to feel great this weekend. I actually want to get to Monday and feel like I'm already on the ground running. I want to put this whole lifestyle to the test. So I'm going to start by plugging in a few non-negotiables at the weekend that will still work with my family, that will still allow me a bit of flexibility. And we build on this flexibility. We build on it intentionally. You will see me last week, I posted into the Thriving Women community my snack hacks for a Saturday night. And I will always snack with the kids on a Saturday night. Like, it's part of our ritual. So we normally do a movie. We're currently doing Strictly Come Dancing because my kids have got into it. And I never used to watch it actually, but I'm really enjoying it. So it's our ritual. And again, I don't want to create bad habits for the kiddos. I'm so consciously aware of this. We see the habits that we've got ourselves into. We know they're not great, but then we pass them on to our kids, which is a whole other episode, I'm sure. So we have that balance of a weekend. But I definitely indulge more so than during the week. But again, it's so intentional. Like, there's standards behind everything and there's thought behind it all, because I know how I want to feel in my body and in my mind. I cannot say this enough. We see the rise of mental health struggles in the winter months. Please take note on this. A lot of what you are doing over weekends, a lot of what I'm talking about in this week's episode will promote better mental health for you going into the autumn winter, going into the festive season. It's such a joyous time, but there are also many struggles for a lot of people in the month of December and beyond. And so if we can do the things that allow us flexibility, allow us that freedom, allow us to de-stress, but also support our mental well-being as well as our aesthetic goals and our fat loss progress and all the rest of it, then why would we want to deviate from that? That's my outlook, is why would I want to deviate from that? Like, it feels too good to compromise, but it's got to be put into practice, ladies. This is where accountability can be huge, because if you get on board and get accountability now at this point, because most definitely the comfort zone will call you back. It normally happens about week 3. Week 1, you're motivated, you're ready to go. Week 2, motivation's still strong. Maybe like the comfort zone's calling back a little bit. Week 3, comfort zone is fully like, come back to me, like forget all of this new way of living. And that's where I see a lot of women, that's where we need the accountability. It's not off the bat. Like, you're good, you're high, you're motivated at that point, but it's that couple of weeks in. But that's the tipping point. That is where a lot, like, think about how many times you've done a diet or a new regime and you've lasted like 2 to 3 weeks, but then you've thrown the towel in. It starts to feel a bit challenging at that point. Think about where you could be if you just get past that 3-week mark and you start to feel the impact, you start to see the impact on the scales, in how you show up, in your clothes, on your progress photographs, wherever it might be. Like, it starts to feel so good that you're not willing to compromise it. It's exactly like the client I've just spoken about, who has said to me, the chocolates and the wine has started to creep back in, Nick, but I don't feel good for it. Like, and we've plugged it in as part of the program, so it's there as a choice. Everything is a choice, but she knows how she wants to feel, and that's a really powerful place to be. And reflect on a Sunday night. Just give yourself, rather than feeling guilty, if it didn't all go to plan, rather than feeling guilty about it, just have a little reflection. Okay, what's worked this weekend? What am I still struggling with? Okay, what can I do differently now going into this week ahead? And always give yourself, you can do it on a daily basis. You can do it mid-afternoon each day. You can do it every Friday night, every Sunday evening. It's a little bit of grace that we're giving ourselves, really, rather than jumping to attack ourselves and overthink all of these decisions that we didn't make, that were not perfect. We just reflect. Okay, what did I actually struggle with a little bit more this weekend? And a lot of the time, it's the simple stuff that once we acknowledge it, we know how to drive the different outcome the following week. And again, if you want to come and join us inside of Thriving Women, you will get the support, you will get the accountability, you get the opportunity to share your reflections, and that's actually in itself so powerful. But I hope that this podcast, being quite short and sweet, has been helpful. Ladies, going into this weekend, we are coming up to the most indulgent time of the year. Give yourself a little structure. Have the plan around alcohol, have the plan around the indulgences, the meal out, check the menu ahead of time. Check the restaurant. Where are you going? Like, are there calories on menus? Are there options that are going to align with your goals? Figure out where you're going to get your movement in. Stay accountable to drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. And most importantly, be willing to do things differently. Be open-minded to changing the routine, plugging in some time for yourself, getting that early night, staying accountable, staying supported. Reach out to your community, to your partner, to your coach, whoever that might be. And yeah, let's make sure that we go into this festive season feeling like we can take charge of a weekend, removing that guilt, removing that negative emotion, and just bringing it all back to awareness, self-reflection. Where am I tripping up? Why am I relying on the alcohol? Why do I keep on ordering the takeaway when I know that it's making me feel like rubbish the next day? Where can I plug in a workout? Where can I prep ahead of time? Stay conscious, stay goal focused. Reach out as always with any takeaways, any questions, any aha moments from this week's podcast. If you do want to come and join us inside of Thriving Women, or you have listened to this podcast and you know that you are ready for some level of accountability, you would love to work together either in the group coaching or one-to-one coaching, all of the links are below in the show notes. I will look forward to hearing from you, and I will catch you all on the next podcast.